Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are warned that this podcast may contain the voices and names of people who have passed away. Listeners are also advised that this podcast may have references to trauma, violence, and other content that may be triggering. It is not suitable for children, and listener discretion is advised. The producers of Black Justice recognise the traditional owner groups and clans on the lands on which it is recorded, the Yagara and Turrbal people in Brisbane. They pay respect to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present. This country has never been ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
I have a distrust to the police because of what happened. Yeah, it's a distrust. I don't hate the police. Like, they obviously, some do a good job, but the others are a bit cocky or them thing. But I don't have any feelings towards the police. Like, if I see the police kind of like harassing or anything, like, I'd step in and voice my opinion. But since from them to experience it, I don't go out anymore because I'm scared that it might happen to me again.
This is Black Justice, a podcast sharing the lived realities of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people impacted by the justice system. Stories from survivors, families and communities. Justice told our way. I'm your host, Carly Wallace. I've spent over 20 years in the media and community sectors storytelling and working with our mob. I'm an Aboriginal woman with lived experience. My family and my community have been impacted by incarceration in many ways. So join me on Black Justice, where truth-telling leads the way. Because our stories matter and justice begins with telling them. This week's guest is Torres Strait Islander man Bernard Namok Jr. While visiting family in Cairns in 2022, Bernard and a friend were pulled over by police for a routine traffic stop that took a turn for the worst. In part one of our conversation, Bernard spoke about his experiences being racially profiled by the Queensland police as a Torres Strait Islander man and how being wrongly accused by the justice system has impacted his life since.
I was brought up on Thursday Island up in the Torres Straits, and my grandmother, my dad's mum, raised me up, me and my sister, Betty. And growing up, it was a hard life growing up because my dad, he passed away when I was 9 years old. And from then, that time onwards, life was pretty hard. Growing up, it was always helping my grandmother to, we'd go to school and all that, like me and my sister, and then we'd come home from school, get my, get all the fishing lines and all that ready to go down to the wharf and have a fish, to get dinner. Because if we didn't do that, we didn't have any dinner. So life growing up on the island was pretty hard in a way. Made me who I am today, but I always look back and thank my grandmother, for raising me up.
What was TI like back in the the early 80s, kind of 90s when you were growing up? Was there a lot of crime, or what was the community like?
You could leave your house door unlocked and not worry about anything. The TI is a small island, so crime wasn't that big, back then. But if you were to do stuff on the island, like if you were to do a crime, stealing and all that, there's nowhere to go because it's an island. So back then, it wasn't a big thing. Crime wasn't a huge part of everyday lives up there like as we see it now. Back then, it was families looking out for families. We'd never answer back all our elders, and we'd always do our chores and listen to especially the grandparents or our elders, because it was pretty different back then compared to now.
Yeah. Were
Yeah.
you a good kid, or were you naughty, or were you like what type of kid were you?
I was a good kid.
You're a good
I
kid.
know, like I was a good kid. I was a good kid growing up. But I think I was more of I think like an independent kid too as well, because I had responsibilities like no 9-year-old should do. Like I was just being grown up at an early age. I just have a good life growing up, you know. It was just I couldn't do the things like other kids would be doing on the island.
Is that because
Yeah.
of the way you grew up? Like I know you've told me before that you've grown up with church and things like that. So I can imagine growing up on an island, being the son of the designer of the Torres Strait flag, you probably had to be on your best behavior at all times. I'm just imagining, but am I right?
Yes, you are right. It was always making sure that we kind of uphold the family surname, like both my mom and dad's surname, because my mom's family surname is Pau, P-A-U, and my grandfather was pretty political back on the island back in the early 80s and 90s. And obviously my dad designed the flag, so we would have two of that name that we had to uphold. We couldn't really do anything, that would spoil, like just to give that name, spoil the name,
Yeah.
because of who they were,
Yeah.
like my dad. And but yeah, it was like I've always wanted to do stuff, but just didn't have the heart to do it, because you'd get growling from the elders and the uncles, especially. Like my mom didn't have any kind of say when it comes to correcting. My mom would correct us, but it was mainly the uncles. For me, it was my mom's brothers. They'd be the one correcting me, and my mom wouldn't have any say, because the way of things, the way of doing things up on the island. Yeah, it was pretty strict growing up too, and especially my grandmother kind of balance it out, because she would always look out for me and my sister. On the other hand, like all my mom's brothers and cousin brothers would be the one correcting me and all
Yeah.
that.
So what do you mean by correcting? When you say correcting in Torres Strait Islander culture, what does that look like when your uncles are correcting?
Just by giving you life lessons, like what to do, what not to do, and what you should be doing. So whatever advice they would give to me, I'd store it at the back of my memory. So I guess right and wrong, like in life itself, yeah.
Describe Thursday Island for those who have never been to TI before and what that would look like.
Thursday Island, or Wyben, it's kind of like a paradise on itself, because when you fly from Cairns up north, it's about 1 hour and 30-minute flight from Cairns, and you fly up and you kind of know you're home when you see the water changes from blue to kind of like turquoise. And it's just the environment, it's the weather, it's the people, it's the culture. It has kindergarten, preschool, primary school, it has a Catholic school on the island, has a high school, hospital, and it's like an administration hub for all the other outer islands up in the Torres Strait, where they would come in to do banking, hospital. So it's a pretty busy little island. I don't know. It's hard to describe TI to other, like to people, because when you live there, like it's you see that every time, every day. It's the same thing. People say hello on the street. People are really friendly. You see a lot of aunties in their island dresses just sitting out in the local businesses, and it's just a vibrant little community, and it's home.
What was it like growing up there when it came to crime? Because you describe it for yourself as, you've grown up with the church influence and your family being quite dominant there and respected. But can you remember ever really having any contact with any police or any crimes happening up on TR when you were growing up? And was that a big thing or no?
It wasn't a thing where you think about crime or where you think about all them stuff that people do, it was just a place where you wouldn't think that anything crime related would happen because it's a small knitted community and people know people and people are related to, like you're related to half of the island.
Yeah.
And people look out for each other. Back growing up, there wasn't much crime happening on the island.
What was your view of, I guess, police? Did you have any view? Were they good? Were they considered good in your community or in your eyes? Or like what was the police interaction like for people on Thursday Island or for you?
Well, my uncle was he's a police officer up on the island. And we didn't really think about crime happening to us up on the island. My uncle, that's the local PLO, police liaison officer, that when I was growing up, my mum's brother, and we'd always go for a little cruise around the island in the police car, at the back in the paddy wagon. Sometimes, I remember one incident up there. We were growing up, like we were, just as you do, like when we were teenagers at the local wharf there on the island, we'd get carried away and then the police would come down to the wharf, check us out, and then told us to move to the back of the island. And anyway, the police car did a few rounds, dropping us off, safety reasons, dropped us off there and then went around and did some other patrolling around the island. But that was the only interaction that I kind of had growing up with the police up on the island.
So you could probably say it was not amazing, like it wasn't like an amazing experience, but you had a pretty good experience because your uncle was a police liaison officer. It sounds like he would kind of make it a gentle interaction with community. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Gentle interaction, especially with the other, mainstream officers that would go up there. We'd have we'd have barbecues, at the police. Yeah, it was them kind of interactions.
Would you say that you trusted police?
Yeah, back then. Yeah, I would. I trusted the police because, like I said, there wasn't much crime happening on the island, and whenever we would call the police for any sort of partying, when house parties and all that would go into the early hours in the morning, like we'd call the police and they would come. Yeah.
So that trust kind of was there, your whole life growing up. You saw the interactions with police were quite positive. The police tended to do their job. So then that kind of changed for you in terms of your interaction with police in around 2019, and you were living in Darwin at the time doing radio, and you were living up there, but you were visiting Cairns. Can you just take me back to that night in Cairns, and what were you doing?
Well, before that, I had a interaction before with the police. This was back in early 2019. I was living in Darwin, and I got invited to go up to the Northern Peninsula area at the community of New Mapun. So this was for their local NAIDOC week. And on the way back from that event, I had like a day or two here in Cairns before flying back to Darwin. And I did some shopping before traveling back to Northern Territory the next day. And I was traveling around Cairns with my mate, who was non-Indigenous. I was a passenger in the vehicle, and we was driving around one of them streets here in Cairns, in one of them back roads, and we came to a roundabout. But I think what my mate did didn't really stop. He kind of like just just kept on moving the vehicle as he was approaching the roundabout. The police seen him, put the lights on. He pulled up on the side of the road. But instead of questioning my mate that was driving, they looked at me and asked me for my identification, for my ID. like, I didn't really think anything of it. So I just gave them my ID. The next thing I remembered, I was in the watch house.
So how do you go from sitting in a car and they asked you for your ID? Now, did they ask your friend who was driving, who's not Indigenous, for his ID? Did he?
They questioned my mate, but then once they seen me, they turned their attention to me and asked me for my ID. And I said, why do I need to provide my ID when I'm not the one that's driving the vehicle? They said that they had an active warrant out for my arrest.
So they've looked at your driver's license, I'm assuming, or your ID. They've gone and cross-checked it and then come back to the car, said there's an active warrant for you. And what did you say at this point?
Well, they didn't really give me any chance because all they said was to come now and get this matter sorted. I wasn't under any arrest because I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't in. I just went because they told me to. And well, the thing I remember from the ride into Cairns Watch House was one of the things that the police officer said to me. He said, "Now's your chance to run," and I'm like, well, why am I going to run? Like, I'm here to fix whatever problem that's going on. Like, why would I run? And why would you say that to me, you know?
He said this to you in the car or in the watch house?
At the car park, at the watch house, before we were to go into the station.
So when you're jumping out of the car, he said, now's your chance to run. I'm just trying to think it, from your perspective then. You've just been picked up on the side of the road as a passenger in a friend's car. I'm assuming you're sober, or are you any sort of state? No, you're completely...
I was sober,
and a policeman has taken you, they've taken you to the station, and then now's your chance to run. You must be pretty confused at this point of what's going on.
I was confused, and I was confused. I'm standing there. I was like thinking to myself, why am I going to run? And where am I going to run to, Arrived there at Cairns Watch House, and they took me in to get all them, to process and all that. And when they did that, I pretty much was waiting for them to say what's happening. So they put me in a cell without explaining anything. And then the lawyer for one of the local lawyer agencies here in Cairns, he was confused too. He looked at me, he looked at the file, and then he was like, I'm sorry, but we don't know what you're in here for.
So this was when you were in the cell that a legal aid or someone has come down and seen you. So I've just take me back to you're at the front desk first, and before they process you, what have they said?
They just said there was an active warrant and that I'll have to see the judge to sort out the problem or sort out the warrant.
And what were you doing at this stage? Obviously, you're complying. Is it because are you in automatic? This is an authority. I have to do what they say.
Yeah.
I can't question. What's running through your mind?
Well, just do what they say. Because I haven't been in them kind of situations before. So I didn't know what to do. And all I did was to answer any questions. And I guess, follow what they were saying to me.
So at this stage, do you know that you're under arrest?
Not from memory, because it looked like everybody was they were confused because they didn't know what I was in there for. So when I went to talk to the lawyer, even the lawyer was confused. Being a Thursday or a Friday, they were saying to me that if there's no availability in the courtroom, then I'd have to stay in there for the weekend. When they said that to me, then I started having all the panic attacks, and because I was living in Darwin. And my flight back to Darwin was the next morning. And I had a job to go to. I had a house. I had a car. And they didn't know what why I was in there. And at this stage, I started like getting all. I just started getting all. It was a moment where I don't want to go back, but it's good to kind of talk about it because it was like it's an uncertainty. You don't know whether you're going to spend the whole weekend there or whether you're going to go up to Lotus Glen and wait there. You don't know what's going to happen to you. But when I spoke to the lawyer, he was confused and he said, "We'll get this matter before the judge today, so they can sort out the problem or they can sort out the issue."
This is your very first time in a police cell.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're getting led down into the cells, and you've been told you're going into the cells. What goes on in your head as a Torres Strait Islander man, a visibly black man in Cairns, getting led down into the police cells?
I guess I felt like a criminal, you know? At that time, I felt like I was kind of reaching the lowest point, but it wasn't the lowest point in my life. I've had a lot of lower points than that experience. And I was kind of keeping myself positive that I would get out and go back to Darwin. I didn't have that thought about spending, the weekend in the watch house because of what they said to me, that there might not be a available time to see a judge. That's where that word kind of stuck in my head, that I might be in there for the weekend or for a couple of days until. But then when I seen the judge, I wasn't even in the courtroom for 5 minutes.
So how long were you in the cells for before they took you upstairs, I'm assuming, to go and see a magistrate or a judge to see what was going on? How long were you down in the cells for?
I probably was in the cell for about not even 2 hours.
Okay.
But it felt like it was a long time.
Were you searched or anything before they put you in there? Like, obviously they've taken everything off you. Like,
I was pat down and I even had the photo taken, and all that.
Fingerprinted?
Fingerprinted and everything.
Gee.
I was fingerprinted and I had my photo taken, and then I was escorted into the cell, which was a frightening experience. I was in a cell by myself, and then when I went to see the lawyer, I had to go back to the cell to see the judge. But when I went back to another cell, I was in a room with this other fella from one remote community up here in the Cape. And same like me, he didn't know why he was picked up too. And he was a fella that had one leg, and he said they just dragged him from waiting in front of a shop here in Cairns and then took him into the watch house. So I was in there with him, and I kind of felt reassured that I didn't feel reassurance then because I didn't know what was happening to me, but yarning with him, I kind of felt
okay, it's not
calm.
Just me type of thing. And that you had somebody else kind of similar, which is, when you look at it, that's really crap that you had to feel some sort of reassurance from another black fella, disabled black person, who is in the cells beside you. You're both going through the same experience. You don't know why you're there. You've both gone through the getting processed and waiting to know what's going to happen. So when you see the magistrate, so you come before a magistrate or a judge, what do they say to you?
They apologized to me and they said, sorry, we can't give you back the hours that you have spent in the watch house because, it's your first time experience this. And from that time onwards, like you will, they said you probably won't be the same anymore. That's That's what the judge said because, and he encouraged me to file a complaint against the Queensland police and squash the case. And then I left.
So obviously, I'm just trying to see from a magistrate's point of view, they've obviously got something from legal aid to go. There's some sort of, we don't know, there's no charge. There's an outstanding warrant. This person's being held. We don't actually know why. And it's come before the magistrate, and the magistrate's looked at that and gone, there is no charge. Why is this person being held downstairs? This is a wrongdoing that's happened to you, Mr. Namok. You're free to go. Is that around what?
And I'm sorry, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's you must have been at this point where you just happy to get out of there and get home and you're not really thinking about it. Like, what do you do when you leave? Like, what was the next step?
Honestly, like I was scared because of what will happen when I got released. And I was just on guard.
Yeah. So you're now kind of feeling on edge, like it would happen again, or
what it might happen again. And I just wanted to be on the plane, and I just wanted to be on the plane back to Darwin.
In another state, because
in another state where I'm not even from, but
Yeah.
I felt I wasn't like from here in Queensland when that happened. But I just wanted to get out of here.
Yeah. So that was 2019. What were the months, I guess, like after that? Did you think about it much, or did you just kind of put it out of your mind and go, well, that was weird, or like what did you think about it?
I felt numb. I was actually numb. And when I got back to Darwin, I kind of like for a couple of days, I kind of wanted to forget about the situation. But then one day, this is like a week after now, I was going from the radio station where I was working to a supermarket to buy lunch. And I happened to pass a police car. And that triggered the memory and I didn't experience that. And I didn't know how to explain because I've never experienced anxiety attack before. I was driving and then the police car passed on the other side of the road and I kept on watching it. And then I pulled up at the shopping center and I just sat in the car park for like a good five minutes. I was sweaty just to build up my courage. And I'm like, this never happened to me before. It was like I was sweaty and I couldn't like stop scratching my palms. Like I was irritated. I was sweaty and I wanted to push through that. And then I said, no, I'll be all right. I'll just walk into the shop and go and grab stuff for dinner, for lunch. So I walked into the supermarket and then all them bright lights became too bright, like a fluorescent. It was like I had to really rub my eyes just to get it clear again, but it wasn't that. And then I could feel my heart racing really fast. I was going to push myself more, but then something told me to stop and then go back to the car. And then when I went back to the car, I started having it was like hype, like, when you puffed out, you're trying to hyperventilate. I was that person that was in the car and I had the aircon full blast. I was sweaty and I just took myself back to the radio station and went for a lie down because of what happened. Never happened to me before, but it was 1 week after I went back to Darwin. Is the trigger, the police car kind of triggered that memory, which wasn't a really good thing.
Were you very aware then that, I might have some lingering, because it'd probably be confusing. You probably wouldn't know. It's what it would sound like to everyone listening and myself is probably like a PTSD, post-traumatic stress that you've had from that incident. But did you even think about that when you were having all these feelings in your body at the supermarket? Like, did it even register to you that maybe that's what's going on?
It didn't register to me that it could have been PTSD because I've never experienced them kind of things before. So I was, Dr. Google, all them symptoms,
Yep.
and it came up, yeah.
Okay.
But never really gone down that path of professional diagnose because it's just, yeah, like it's not draining. It's just reliving that experience where you don't want to because it's kind of like that experience. It's a reminder every day now.
Do you think now when you look back at it, why did the police talk to me? And do you have any sort of explanation that you've come to around why they took you?
Well, like I looked at that situation where obviously, like I'm black and my mate was white, was driving the car. That was I put it down to that is color.
Discrimination.
Yeah, because like I don't know, like I've never heard or came across anybody saying that. I guess the police can ask every passenger in the car for an ID, but I wasn't the one driving the car, clear. But I got asked for an ID. It's shit. I felt shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Because at this point, you've had positive interactions growing up and you didn't, you've got family working for police. So police weren't this discriminative body towards you as an individual or people around you that you really seen growing up in your community. And then you become an adult and you go to the city and you're in Cairns and you're being treated like a black man.
You see them thing happening all the time, on social media. And you wouldn't think that it would happen to you. I think that's the story that everybody say, hey, like when they have a run-in with the police. It's like you see it on social media. You read it on social media, but to actually have that happen to you, yeah.
That wasn't the first time, though, that happened to you. So after that incident, which was obviously very, traumatic for you, a couple of years goes by and then you're back in Cairns and it happens again.
So I've always dread coming back to Cairns because of that experience. But when I had to make the move to Cairns, I was like, I thought I was stronger mentally and emotionally. The second time it happened, it was at night. Me and my cousin went for a drive. I had my car, my ute back then. So we were driving to Macca's, had the munchies, and I was like, come on, let's go.
As you do in Cairns, cruising around?
Yeah. And then we drove down Mulgrave Road past Kazales.
Which is a main road in Cairns for those that don't know.
In Cairns. And we were driving down Mulgrave Road heading in towards the city area. And the police car turned from one of them side streets onto Mulgrave Road, and then it followed me. And then I was like, here we go. And then the lights came on. This was at probably about 11 or 12. Like I was trying to play it cool for my cousin because I had my cousin family member in the car. And I knew that they might take me in to the watch house. I just had the feeling they might. So I told my cousin, you might have to drive the car because they might have to take me in. It wasn't like a quick stop. When the time went past like 10 minutes with the police on the side of the road, I said to my cousin, you might have to just drive the car and pick me up because I know for a fact that I'll just go in. And yeah, it was late at night and same thing.
So they're looking you up. They're looking up your ID again on the side of the road. They see what, like an outstanding warrant, or what have they said to you this time around?
They checked the details and all they said was take you into the watch house to clear this matter again.
This time around, have you voiced your concerns to the police? Have you pushed back a little bit, or are you just, okay, maybe flashing back to all those feelings and you just kind of go into fight or flight mode and you're like, I'll just do what they say? Or at this point, are you like, no, this happened last time? Like, what are you saying?
I said to them, like, this happened last time. That's all I said. This happened last time. But they were still they still wanted to take me into the watch house. I just went and I said, look, let's do this. Like this. I was kind of tired of, I didn't want to, I'm not that type of person to kind of voice anything back to anybody in that situation.
You're not a confrontational person.
No, I'm not.
Do you, though, have fear that if I was to argue back or just say, no, I'm not going, what would happen? Are those things also going on in your mind?
Well, you see that all the time. How blackfellas, when they try to talk back to the police about their rights, they don't listen.
So you go back to the station again with them the second time round in 2022, and what do they say? Is it the same thing? You get booked again?
Same.
Back down into a cell?
Same thing. So yeah, it was after 1 o'clock because I remember the time because it was late, and I went in and they didn't say anything. They just apologized to me again.
So did you have to stay overnight?
No, I thought I had to see the judge. That's why I was stressing out. But they let me go.
What time?
There and then.
So as soon as you got back to the station?
Yeah, I was. When I went into the station, I wasn't even in there for like 40 minutes. It was like a 30 minutes. I was in there. I was sitting in the cell.
Oh, so they did still take you down to the cells though?
They still took me to the cell. I was in there for like 10 minutes. And they apologized, and then they let me go. I've just threw away all the papers from the actual watch house as I went through all them stuff. This is a couple of years later now, so I just threw everything out from that time because, yeah, it was a time I don't really want to remember, but you can't really escape anything especially when them kind of thing happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that you said in the first time or when it happened, that there was another uncle beside you. And so it's not something that you have gone, it may feel like you've gone through this on your own, but the amount of stories that are like yours of just being pulled over while driving black, and then we're going to check your ID, we're going to try and find something. It's obviously some sort of mistaken identity. And so do you know where this outstanding warrant stuff had come from? Have you ever looked into like, why is my name keep coming up on some sort of system? Or are you just try to avoid it since it's happened?
Yeah, I try to avoid because the fact that you have to talk about it, or especially when you look into it properly and reliving them, like when you tell the story again, like it kind of brings back all them memories of not only once that it happened, but twice that happened. Yeah. So I try to kind of forget about it, that what happened, but I can't.
Yeah. So you've never, and you've been living in Cairns since, and you've never kind of sought the, that professional help. And I think a lot of mob probably feel the same. Like the police targeting or interactions with police that happen like that. Our first kind of instinct is probably just to, I don't want to go near that again. I don't want to talk about that because that was too traumatic. But it must still kind of linger for you being in Cairns and still being in that environment and wondering, can it happen again?
I'll tell you another story. I wasn't driving. I was walking this time. This was late. Not late, like it was around the night. I just wanted to go to the Esplanade. for a break, you know.
Well, it's the
And then I was
most popular
walking.
part of Cairns, right? Everyone walks down the Esplanade.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was walking along the other main street of Cairns, near the city. There's Sheridan Street, and then police came with their lights on, and then wanting to check my ID and ask me a question whether I came from down that street. I said I haven't come from that street, and back then, you know, like I started to become more vocal now because I was sick and tired of of that happening to me. So when they stopped me, I just kind of like said no, and I just kept on walking because I wasn't in that area, because I had no right. Like I should, yeah, like just continuing on the conversation was just going to be more. It was just going to make matters worse for me.
Yeah.
So I just said no, I didn't, and then I kept on walking, and then they left again. But when that happened, it kind of re-triggered the first two experiences that I had with the police here in Cairns.
So what's your attitude at this point when you're in this, like obviously you're saying no, so you're a little bit more resistant to answering police. Do you have now a different view of police since those things have happened? Like when that was going on, like do you have a hate for them? Do you have a distrust for them? Like how are you feeling?
I have a distrust to the police because of what happened. Yeah, it's a distrust. I don't hate the police. Like they obviously, you know, they some do a good job, but you know the others are a bit cocky or them thing. But I don't have any feelings towards the police. Like if I see the police kind of like harassing or anything, like I'd step in and you know voice my opinion if I'm in the situation. But since from them to experience it, I don't go out anymore because I'm scared that, you know, it might happen to me again. But it kind of, from them to experience, it made me to be in this environment where I'm safe. I only go out to do shops and that, but yeah, I don't have any feelings towards the police.
Do you think it was the environment, as in Cairns? Like had anything like this ever happened to you in Darwin? Like I know you've lived in lots of places, interactions with police. Has it ever been like that anywhere else for you except for Cairns?
No, just here in Cairns. Like I've never experienced these kind of interactions before. When I was living over in the Northern Territory, we had a great relationship over there, you know, with the police. It's only here, like I've got, I wouldn't say hatred because hate is a ugly word, but I do for the police, certain police here in Cairns, not the whole police, but well, yeah.
It has, it sounds like a fair statement to say that it has changed your opinion or your trust probably towards police. So like you're a little bit more cautious now of police in Cairns especially. Does that mean police everywhere now? Like, or is it just in Cairns that you feel like this? If you went back to Darwin or anywhere else and see police sirens or anything, does it still trigger you, or is it just Cairns?
Just Cairns. And it's been getting really worse over the last couple of weeks too, because you hear sirens every day here, and I live in a high crime neighborhood, and you hear it every day. You can't really shake it off, but learn to live with it.
That was part one of my conversation with Torres Strait Islander man Bernard Namok Jr. In part two, Bernard goes from being an innocent victim of the justice system to becoming a victim of youth crime. That's next time on Black Justice. If you're Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander and need support after listening to this podcast, you can call 13 Yarns support phone line on 13 92 76. This service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. LifeLine is also available to everyone. You can phone them on 13 11 14 or 1800 RESPECT on 1800 737 732.